Alright, so today we're diving into how to identify the main idea in Carr's passages on the MCAT. This is one of the most fundamental skills you'll need to score well. The main idea serves as the central point or argument that the entire passage revolves around. Whether it's an argument of fact, definition, evaluation, or a proposal, you'll need to figure out what the passage is fundamentally trying to convey. Let's get into some strategies that will help you consistently find the main idea, even in challenging passages. Why the main idea matters. The concept that there's always a main idea is based on two principles. Every piece of writing is essentially an argument, and every argument has a central thesis. When it comes to Carr's passages, this usually holds true. Your task is to find that thesis or central claim. But sometimes, it can feel like there isn't an obvious main idea. You might encounter passages where the author is exploring different ideas rather than arguing for a specific position. In these cases, instead of searching for a straightforward thesis, ask yourself why the author sat down to write the essay in the first place. What were they trying to accomplish? This line of questioning can often lead you to the main idea, even if it feels more thematic or abstract. Strategy 1. Look at the whole passage. The first step in finding the main idea is to look at the passage as a whole. After you finish reading, but before you jump into the questions, take a quick look back at the passage from top to bottom. Ask yourself, what are the main parts of this thing? This exercise will refresh your memory of the details and give you a better sense of the passage's overall structure. The structure itself often serves as a vehicle for the main idea. By understanding how the argument is built, you can more easily grasp the central message. For example, if the passage begins with a problem, outlines possible causes, and then suggests a solution, the main idea might be about advocating for that solution. Strategy 2. Identify the type of argument. Recognizing the kind of argument the passage is presenting can also clarify the main idea. Let's break down some of the main types of arguments you might encounter. 1. Arguments of fact. These passages seek to prove whether something is true or false, often by presenting evidence and counter-evidence. Like, to find the main idea, ask yourself, what is the issue being debated? Where does the author stand on it? For example, if the passage is about whether music education improves math skills in children, the main idea will likely center around the author's stance on that issue. 2. Arguments of definition. Here, the focus is on clarifying what a term or concept actually means. The main idea could revolve around why a particular definition is more appropriate or accurate. For instance, if the passage discusses what qualifies as a just war, the main idea will likely relate to criteria for that definition. 3. Arguments of evaluation. These passages make judgments about quality or value. The main idea will usually be the author's verdict. For example, if the passage is evaluating the impact of a specific policy, the main idea may argue for or against the effectiveness of that policy. 4. Proposals. Proposals aim to advocate for changes in policy or practice. The main idea will focus on the problem being addressed and the solution the author is proposing. Strategy 3. Analyze the structure. Paying attention to the structure of the passage helps reinforce your sense of the main idea. For example, if the passage follows a classical argument style, starting with the thesis, providing evidence, addressing counter-arguments, and concluding the central claim, thesis is the main idea. If the passage follows a Rogerian style, it might present counter-arguments in an effort to find common ground. The main idea here might be more nuanced, reflecting the author's attempt to reconcile differing viewpoints. For passages using a dialectical structure, common in modern philosophy, you might see an initial argument, a counterpoint, and then a synthesis. The main idea often emerges in the synthesis as the author reconciles differing perspectives. Be wary of counter-arguments. A common mistake is to confuse a counter-argument with the main idea. In some passages, the author may present alternative viewpoints to set up their own argument. For instance, a passage might begin by stating what historians have traditionally believed, only to go on and critique that view. To avoid falling for this trap, pay close attention to the author's tone and word choice. Phrases like historians have long believed can signal that the author is setting up a viewpoint they don't actually support. When you notice a shift to a stronger, more declarative tone, the author is likely presenting their true perspective. Understanding dialectical and Rogerian structures. When you come across a passage that presents a series of viewpoints, it's important to recognize whether the passage is structured in a dialectical or Rogerian style. Dialectical arguments. These passages start with an argument, thesis, introduce a counterpoint, antithesis, and then find a middle ground, synthesis. The main idea may emerge in the synthesis as a resolution to the earlier debate, Rogerian arguments. These passages aim to find common ground between opposing views. The author may present counter-arguments more favorably and seek a compromise. In these cases, pay attention to shifts in tone and phrasing to identify when the author is genuinely supporting a viewpoint versus simply acknowledging it. Strategy 4. Use tone to find the main idea. The tone can give you vital clues about the main idea. For example, 1. If the tone is enthusiastic or supportive, the main idea likely reflects agreement with the subject being discussed. If the tone is critical, the main idea may involve debunking or challenging the position. Always be on the lookout for shifts in tone, which often signal a transition from discussing alternative perspectives to presenting the author's actual argument. Strategy 5. Practice distinguishing between argument and exploration. Some Cars passages don't present a clear-cut argument. Instead, they explore themes or ideas without taking a definitive stance. In these situations, identifying the main idea involves understanding what the passage is trying to convey as a whole, rather than looking for a single thesis. Example: if a passage discusses the life and works of an artist, the main idea may be more thematic, such as highlighting how the artist's personal experiences influence their work. Revisiting the passage. Before tackling the questions, take a moment to revisit the passage. Scan each paragraph and ask yourself, what role does this section play in the overall argument? How does this part contribute to the main idea? This quick review will help solidify your understanding and make it easier to answer questions that require you to think about the passage as a whole. Common pitfalls and how to avoid them. Mistaking background information for the main idea. If the passage starts with a history lesson or background info, don't assume that's the main point. It's often just setting the stage for the real argument. Overemphasizing counter-arguments. Don't let alternative viewpoints presented in the passage distract you from the author's true stance. Identify when the author is acknowledging other perspectives versus advocating for them. Ignoring shifts in tone. A change in tone can indicate a shift from presenting facts to expressing the author's opinion. Use these shifts to guide you toward the main idea. Wrapping it up to sum up. Always identify the main idea before tackling the questions. Make it a habit to determine what the author is trying to convey. Look at the passage as a whole and understand its structure. This will often give you clues about the main idea. Recognize the type of argument and analyze how it's built. Understanding the kind of argument being presented can help you pinpoint the central claim. Pay attention to the tone and any shifts in style or language to distinguish between the author's views and alternative perspectives. Practice, practice, practice. The more passages you work through, the better you'll get at quickly identifying the main idea. Remember, the key to mastering Cars is consistent practice. Download the King of the Curve app or visit kingoffthecurve.org, where you'll find over 200 free Cars passages to help you sharpen your skills. Let's keep moving forward and get you closer to that top score.